Welcome in, College World Series fans. We finally have a first show here of the softball season. I am joined by Dan and Sydney. Welcome into the studio here, guys. You guys ready to get going, talking about some softball?
Absolutely, and it's going to be awesome. So excited for this weekend. Super regionals are going to be phenomenal. We're going to have a great slate of games. I mean, every single super regional is loaded with talent, and we're in for a treat this weekend.
Yes. I don't know if I can't hear you really, Sydney. I wonder if there's something going on there with your sound, but we can test that out there. Anyways, welcome in, guys. Happy to have you all here. Yes, we are doing a special live show here, trying to get this going for the Women's College World Series. We had an awesome first weekend of softball. It was super exciting. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Really fun games out there for people who don't get to watch a lot of softball. It's a little different than the baseball game. There's, free substitutions, lots of pinch runners, lots of action going on, lots of pitching changes, and then some no pitching changes. So it's a really different game, guys. First off, let's start off with Oklahoma and their region. They were the number one seed. They were dominant. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They were just that good to where Oklahoma was definitely the best team on the field. They're going to be going to the Super, but yeah, they were just dominant. Any feeling on them not being dominant? I felt it was a super dominant regional for them. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, yeah, Oklahoma was Oklahoma. They that game two they had their first game against Texas A&M. You thought for a minute, oh wow, maybe a giant could fall, and then that final the game six, the last one of the regional, they just laid the hammer down on Texas A&M. It was, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but like I kept checking the score, and I just thought, my goodness, that it was it was domination,
Yeah,
and they're the Oklahoma that we know, and that we know who won the national championship last year and is looking to repeat again this year.
yeah, 52-2. I mean, they just look outstanding. Watching that game when they get up and score 20, and I was like, oh boy, I'm sitting here in between pool matches going, all right, I don't have to keep track of that score anymore. That one's done. So, any input on that one, Sydney? We might have to see if we can get her going again. I think there's something going on with her sound. Uh, so Dan, number two seed, Florida State goes down to Mississippi State. How were you feeling when that happened there? Like that was incredible.
Oh my goodness, Mark! What I don't really have the words to describe how it felt to watch that. I went into to Sunday morning thinking, all right, we took down USF, and that was a huge accomplishment in itself. I mean, the Georgina Korick is a phenomenal pitcher, one of the best pitchers in softball history that we've ever seen, and getting through that, and it was unfortunate to see her go down, and then going into Sunday, I'm thinking, all right, maybe, Aspen pitches well first game, maybe we'll be competitive in the second game. But I knew, Catherine Sandercock was coming in, and I was just thinking to myself, maybe. And Aspen Wesley was absolutely phenomenal in game one on Sunday, and she did her job in game two. She came in, the bats had figured out. Kenley Hawk came in, did her job, and paved the way for Annie Willis, and Annie Willis shoved, absolutely dominated, did what she'd been doing all year long. I mean, I don't have words. It one of the greatest upsets of all time, and I'm so proud of this university and Mississippi State for finding a way to do that. Like I
Yeah,
said, I wasn't expecting it. I don't
yeah.
think anyone was expecting it except the women in that Mississippi State dugout. They expected it, and they deserve every single bit of credit that goes their way.
They battled hard, and that's a very good Florida State team. There's no doubt there. Being as Sydney and I are not Mississippi State fans, did you see anything different that would shake your head and make you think, man, that was not an impressive? I thought it was incredible. I got to go home and watch the whole second one, so I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, we did what it took to win, right? It wasn't like Oklahoma level of domination. We're putting up 20 runs on them, right? We did just enough to win when we had the bases loaded and Sandercock pitching and Chloe Malaulu up at the plate. I mean, she delivered the biggest hit in school history.
Yep.
Never been to a super regional before. We've never hosted postseason before. I mean, we've hosted the SEC tournament, but never hosted a regional or a super regional. And Starkville's buzzing right now. Stuff is crazy. I'm trying to work with a lot of people about getting tickets out to everyone because we're not going to be able to fit the demand. I mean, at least 5,000 people want to go. I don't know how many we can fit in there.
Sold out quick.
I know that they're doing everything they can right now to try to get fans in all these stadiums. I know Stanford is trying to do the same thing down there, but we'll get to that one. So we'll move on since we're going to talk about Mississippi State here later. I know we're really happy about them. Really congrats on them getting to their first, supers in school history. It's very cool. Super happy for them, especially since baseball kind of struggled this year. So good to see softball taking care of business. Number 3, Vautech. Boy, speaking of taking care of business, they looked like the number 3 team in the country. Sydney, what do you got for me on Vautech there?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You're perfect.
Thank God. All right. Looking back at Virginia Tech, Keely Rochard, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She was incredible, lights out. She was one of the 3 ACC pitchers to throw a no-hitter on Friday, I think it was. And she shut down Kentucky to get the win, too. So they look pretty good. They're definitely now according to Softball America, they moved up to the 2nd place now that Florida State's gone. So I don't know. They did go down to Kentucky that one game, but I think they'll be all right.
I agree, Dan. Looking at it, they beat all 3 teams in their region. They look like they're cruising right along. They got a good seed here. Do they have enough on the offensive side? Now I know they have a lot there with Keely Rochard. Is that offense going to be enough? It looked like it this weekend, but is it enough?
Yeah, I'm actually wondering the same thing. I got a few things to say about Rochard and some of the other pitchers on that staff once we get to our top performers. But
absolutely,
their bats, that's going to be the issue. Can they get the hits off of the Florida pitching? I think they can, because when you have the kind of talent on the mound that Virginia Tech does, you really only need to score about 4 or 5 runs a game. I think that's all they need. And honestly, I think in all of the regionals, super regionals everywhere, pitching is insanely good this year. And I think Virginia Tech they might be, the best at that. They are really good. And if they can get around to get a few more hits and put up a few runs on that Florida pitching, which has been done this year, they have a clear-cut path to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, in a year where overall pitching was down, it seems like the 16 teams we're going to talk about tonight, really their pitching stepped up, and that's what pushed them forward. A lot of teams had a lot of offense this year, and the pitching was way down. And then you look at it, and the 16 teams that advanced, they did it with pitching and defense. Yeah. Speaking of Arkansas, boy, they look dominant over Oregon. People were jumping on the Oregon bandwagon saying that they could go down there. That was not the case. Tell me anything that I missed over the weekend, but I think I got it all. But tell me something I missed from Arkansas this weekend.
I don't know. I mean, their lineup is just so dominant the whole way down. KB Side starts it off whenever she's on base. She can steal any base. She can hit a home run. She can slap hit. I mean, she's insane. That's why she's the SEC Player of the Year. And everyone else, Danielle Gibson, she hit a grand slam this weekend along with 1 or 2 other home runs. Lenny Malkin had 2 home runs. I mean, there are multiple people with 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 home runs. No, it's not all just on one person. So trying to stop that offense will be insane. Texas has really good pitching, but I think the offense will adjust really well.
Yeah, Dan, being as a fellow SEC opponent, seeing that offense for Arkansas, that's got to be a little bit of justification for saying that they were the number 4 team in the nation this year.
Yeah, I can say with confidence, I'm glad we didn't have to play Arkansas in the regular season. They're SEC champions for a reason. SEC is always a very good conference. I'm not going to say the best, but they are very good in softball. Obviously, we saw the Pac-12 was dominant this year. But, I mean, yeah, Arkansas, they're a good team. And I think if there's any team on that side of the bracket that is going to give uh, Oklahoma a huge run for their money. It is going to be the Arkansas Razorbacks. If there's any team that's going to take them down before the final of the Women's College World Series, it's going to be Arkansas.
Yeah. And also the pitching. I mean, there's Shanice Dels and Mary Half. Both of them are SEC pitchers of the year. Mary winning last year, Dels winning this year. And they're just dominant all around, pitching, hitting, fielding. They rarely make errors. Last weekend against Oregon, they made 2 errors in one play that were pretty bad. And after that, I don't see them making another error like that for a while. They brushed it all off.
Got rid of it all. Well,
right.
As we're talking about Pac-12, we're going to jump to UCLA. They just looked like they had too much offense. They didn't really pitch all that well. They didn't have to play a great defense necessarily over the weekend. They just looked like they cruised along with the offense, but they don't really have any one player necessarily that scares you. I think that makes them pretty tough. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, which is interesting. Their pitching staff this year had been really dominant. Yep. Lauren Shaw and Holly, making sure I'm getting this right, Azevedo. I mean, both Shaw with the sub-1 ERA this year in, 20-plus appearances, and Azevedo with the 110 ERA. I was a bit shocked at that, but that they didn't, achieve at that level, but they didn't need to worry about it. You're right, Mark. They did what they had to, and their bats look good, and there's no one player in that team who stands out up and above everyone else. And that makes them a dangerous team, and we can't forget they have 3 national championships, I think, in their history. So I mean, they're always a contender, and once again, they're on their way to possibly get another spot in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Sydney, being the leader of the Pac-12, and saying that the Pac-12 was really good this year and they did a lot of things. Number 5 seed, that's kind of down for the Pac-12 to not have anybody in the top 4. Did UCLA do enough to make you think that maybe they are actually a good team and they are good enough to be where they're supposed to be here at 5?
Yeah, absolutely. I think UCLA is always dominant, like every year. The Pac-12 is extremely dominant. The thing is, it's so hard. I wasn't able to watch a lot of the Pac-12 games because the time difference is so big. Yeah. And during the regular season, it's hard to watch a lot of them. But I think if they had more coverage around the country, I think more people would see them and would really see how great of a team they are. I mean, this past weekend, they outscored their opponents 28-3, which is really incredible.
Yeah. And, for those who have watched the weekend rotation for us, they saw me go off last weekend about the Pac-12 and the lack of coverage. It is sad. Yeah. It stems over to the women's side, too. The softball, being one of the best conferences in the nation, they're not getting the coverage. Speaking of Stanford going to Alabama and winning that one, first time in a long time Alabama has not been in the Supers. That's a very good team. Stanford just did what they had to do. They felt like they grinded that out. What did you see in that one, Sydney?
Those were fun games to watch. I mean, they went through 5 innings with 0 action going on. Just great defense, great pitching out of both teams. And Stanford has a really, really good pitcher in Alana Vaughter. I think that's how you say her name. And she had 2 complete game shutouts. And Reagan Krause, she was another pitcher for them, and she allowed 0 runs through 5 innings of that second game, I believe. But their pitching is really what helped them a lot.
Yeah, does it say more about Alabama or about Stanford this week, Dan, that Stanford was able to win that one? Because it felt like Alabama was coming in on a high. They had been pitching really well and doing defense, and they just didn't quite have enough to stop Stanford.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, I had one friend tell me she'd grown up in Alabama and watched them most of her life, and she said they were going to lose their regional. She said Stanford was going to come out of this regional, and she was right. They were playing a lot down. Montana Fouts didn't look exactly the same way we had seen her in the past. Mm-hmm. But that I don't want to take away from the credit of what Stanford did. I mean, they came in, shut out Alabama twice, beat them 6-0 twice. That's not an easy thing to do in Tuscaloosa. It's nearly impossible thing to do in Tuscaloosa. And that was another one of the things they did what it took to win. They took down Murray State, and then that second game they beat Alabama. And I thought, my goodness, this is a reality. And what do you know? They're off to go play Oregon State
Moving on to the Supers. Speaking of another team, Oklahoma State. Like, very little press about them, very little out there that they're all excitable. Number 7 team in the country. They just beat the crap out of the 3 opponents. They had no issues. They just walked through, Cowboys on. Dan, what did you see from that Oklahoma State team?
That was a regional that I really wish I got to watch more of. Oklahoma State's one of those teams that, they're good. They competed in the Big 12, which is very hard to do. But you're right. I mean, poor, Fordham, Nebraska, what was the last one? Texas State. I mean, they all went in thinking, maybe they were a little overrated. They're coming off maybe just a little too high after beating Oklahoma. And no, they're here to stay. They're one of those teams. Their offense was dominant, but their pitching. I mean, 2 shutouts. They're here to compete, and they earn their seeding for a reason, and they're proving that maybe their turn's coming. Maybe not this year. Their turn's coming in the Big 12.
Yeah, it feels like they're on the way up. I know those Oklahoma State fans are going crazy there. They did get the win against Oklahoma this year. Sydney, do you think that Oklahoma State is not getting the coverage because of the coverage that Oklahoma gets, or do you think it's just in general the top 4 seeds got way more coverage this week, and that's how it felt until those late games?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch much of Oklahoma State much either.
Yeah.
But I do know that they are a very, very, very good team. They're one of 2 teams to beat Oklahoma, which we've seen how hard that is. They're a very offensive team. But yeah, I didn't get to watch it a whole lot, and it might be because Oklahoma gets all the coverage and all the fame out there, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I think they'll definitely cruise through their super regional and a lot of the tournament.
Yeah, and we'll get to those supers here. Speaking of our next team who won their regional, Arizona State took care of business, didn't look great. The pitching was not on point for them. Defense was not on point. They gave up 2, 8, and 4 runs. They went 3-0. They went through it. They did what they're supposed to do. They advanced, survived and advanced, but I don't know if that pitching's got enough, Sydney. That pitching was not where they're usually at.
No, it wasn't. Their pitching didn't look too great. They outscored their opponents 24-14, but they gave up 14 runs, which is not a good sign to do that against 2 teams in 3 games. I think they hit a total of 4 home runs throughout the weekend, which I feel like they could be more dominant than that. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how their super will go in Tempe.
It's going to be an interesting one. Dan, do you think that pitching can get right here before the weekend?
I think they can. I mean, they proved it during the season. I looked at them before the regionals. I thought, they had an easy path to the World Series. I mean, that 3-headed monster of Marissa Schold, Lindsay Lopez, and Mac Morgan. I thought, they were just going to roll through that regional, and they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm still very high on them. I think they can do it. I mean, Northwestern's not an easy task, a really good school, but I think they have a good chance at kind of gathering themselves. They're going to learn from the few mistakes that are more than a few, but the mistakes that they made this weekend, I think they're going to learn, and definitely they have a good shot, but it's no easy task.
Yeah, I had Arizona State right there with UCLA at the end of the year. I thought that they were playing better ball, and then to come in and kind of, get through those, but not really look sharp. Maybe that's enough to kick them in the pants and get them going here against their next opponent. Like we said, Northwestern, who was offense, if there ever was any. I mean, you're talking 10 runs, 17 runs, and 9 runs in their 3 regional games. Does it matter how you pitch and play defense, Dan, if you do that?
I don't think so. I mean, Danielle Williams is a phenomenal pitcher. She did so well all year long, and yeah, she wasn't even that important. Like, she was important to the team, but they broke through there. It was fun to watch. They're a really good team, and they're if you put up 10, 15 runs, who needs pitching?
Yeah, even with that mound being moved back, 5 years ago, it seems like it hasn't really mattered that much until this year. Then offense seemed to just kick up. Northwestern, a lot of offense, not a lot of coverage again, kind of in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range where we didn't get to see those games. Sydney, what was your takeaway from that Northwestern team?
Kind of what Daniel said. Danielle Williams has over 300 strikeouts on the season. She's insane, and she didn't even have to do a great job this weekend for them to get the win. So I have them beating Arizona State this weekend. Their offense really showed out. Friday they had 2 homers. Saturday they had 3. Sunday they had 2. And Grace Nieto, I think that's how you say her name, she was batting .714 this weekend, which is absurd. So I think their offense takes over in Tempe.
Yeah, it's just a good team. I mean, with the lack of coverage, it was really hard to pick some of these regional. I think almost everybody was on Northwestern. They just didn't realize how good that offense was because the pitching has been so dominant. Speaking of another team who was pitching dominant, Clemson, 3 shutouts. That is a very good team. Sydney, tell me more.
They had, they were also one of the 3 teams that had no hitters. Yep. And this is their 3rd year as a softball team. And they're ranked, number 10, I think, which is really incredible. It shows how much people want to be there and how hard they work. And I think that they can do pretty well. They looked really good this past weekend, so I think they'll do great.
Yeah, Dan, is there anything, we know that they have 3 pitchers that are good. Can that offense be enough? That's my one worry. And looking, they scored some this weekend, but then they had that, second game where they scored 1 run to get through that one. Is that offense enough there when we're going to be talking about them later?
It is a tough task. Obviously, we were just talking about Oklahoma State a few minutes ago, and they might be for real. They definitely could be. But, yeah, to go off what Sydney said, that what Clemson has done in just a few years being a program is nothing short of phenomenal.
Yep.
But, talk about a regional that I think a lot of people were a bit worried about Clemson. I mean, you had Auburn, one of the staples of the SEC this year. They were a really good team, won a lot of games and looked like they could have, broken through out of there. And also Louisiana Lafayette, another team that was on everyone's upset alert.
Yeah.
Didn't score a run against them.
Yeah, I know for me personally, I had Auburn in that one, and I was kind of surprised to see Clemson hang on. They do get a lot of support there in South Carolina. People give them crap, but they get a lot of support for their baseball programs down there. Good to see it turn over to the softball, get them going, getting to host within these 3 years. That's incredible. Now we're going to the best team, Oregon State here, folks. They're not the best. They beat a very good 11 seed Tennessee. They had to beat them twice on Sunday. I was impressed with the way that they just battled back. I think that comes from their coach, Laura Berg, with how much she's competed at the national level. Tell me a little bit more about how Tennessee lost that, really, Dan.
I was high on Tennessee. I'm not going to lie. I was really high on Ashley Rogers and what she had done this year. But, yeah, you can only ride them so far. A friend of mine told me this, a little while ago when she beat us in the SEC tournament. It was like, they're riding her too much. Like, she going to run out of gas at some point. I mean, run into a monster, that Oregon State team. And, Tennessee was one of the teams that I picked to move on. Sorry, Mark. But, I was pretty confident in them, especially the way they battled the future national champions, Mississippi State in Gainesville. And, yeah, it was definitely awesome to just see, one of those huge upsets that team that I thought Tennessee should have been a bit higher, but I guess I was wrong. And, it's sometimes it's fun to be wrong.
Yeah, that's a good team. I was pulling. I think I was the only writer that took Oregon State. It was a little homer, but at the same time, I thought that they were coming back from their horrible skid that they had during the middle of the season. Sydney, tell me a little bit about how Tennessee lost that series. I mean, it looked like they were just cruising and ready to go on and win.
Right. I mean, Oregon State came in there and they went to battle. They won their game against Ohio State and then went down to Tennessee. And then after that, they just battled their way back through it and ended up going 4-1, beat Tennessee twice. I was really shocked. Oregon State's another one of those teams that I don't get to see very much because they're in the Pac-12. But they went in and they scored 20 runs in Knoxville. And now they're going to their first Super since 2006. And to beat Tennessee twice in a row in one day like that is a really tough thing to do. And they went in there and did it in Knoxville.
Yeah, at Knoxville, that's tough. Like you
Yeah.
guys said, I think you guys are both right. I think fatigue on the pitching side really hurt them. They don't lean on two pitchers as much as most of the other teams in the country do, and I think that really came back to get Tennessee a little bit there late. Going to the next series, Duke. What a battle with Georgia! That was incredible. Sydney, tell me a little bit about this Duke team.
Duke and Georgia really did battle it out those last two games. It was really fun to watch because one team would go up and the other team would go up, and they just went back and forth all game long. And that was their first time hosting, and so that was really cool for them to get to do that and get out of there winning. And they had to battle for it, and I just think that they overall did really well. Their defense is really good, and their offense did what they could to take it over.
Yeah, it looked like they got a ton of speed on the paths.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, tell me a little bit about that offense, how they're moving. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, when they went down in Game 7 early, and they had to pull Peyton St. George, I thought for a second it was over, and they completely just lit up the scoreboard off the Bulldogs, and it was a lot of fun to see. I mean, when they went down 5-1, I thought, all right, I think Georgia's coming through. It was one of those regionals of that regional that anyone can win. Duke found a way. I mean, their bats came through. I mean, they put up 12 runs, I think, after being down 5-1. They ended up winning 12-5. I mean, that huge domination at the plate, and they came through when it mattered most. And they're another team that they definitely shocked me. I didn't see them coming out of there, and like I said, sometimes it's fun to be wrong. The team that you think is going to get upset almost upsets the team you thought was going to pull the upset. And it's fun.
Yeah, and that was a good, like Sydney said, defense and pitching kept them in games. They had a belief in themselves. They got knocked out last year in the regional. They really wanted to move on this year and getting to host their first one. Great job to them. I was impressed after seeing that. I thought Georgia had it being up early, and they just battled all the way back with small ball. Very impressive. Speaking of another team that battled back after losing the first game on Sunday, Texas. Boy, first time ever Washington is eliminated at home in a regional. That's never, ever happened in the history of softball. Dan, tell me about this Texas squad.
They wanted that matchup with Arkansas, right? They wanted that, and they've got it. Haley Dulcini was really good on the mound Sunday night. It was hard to try to watch it because it came on right after Mississippi State had beaten Florida State, and so I was trying to on the phone with so many people, like, wait, hold up, trying to watch another one more game, right? The last regional game, and it was a fun one. Washington's a really good team, and it's crazy to see that Texas found a way, and even after losing, like you said, that first game, they bounced back, and a lot of good close action in that final game, that Game 7.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I think I tweeted out that it was finally my first time sitting down in my recliner all day, getting to watch a game, and that's the game we end on. That's the game we end the regional on. Great. Sydney, tell me a bit about that. I mean, great pitching there from Haley, but what else did Texas do that made them enough to beat that Washington squad?
Texas, I thought they had it in their first game against Washington on Sunday. That's the one that I was able to watch pretty closely. But their offense came through and their pitching came through. Haley's one of the only people in the country to beat Oklahoma. So they did that. And after they did that, I thought they could beat anyone. Washington is always not a very top nationally ranked team. They're always good at softball. Their pitcher, Gabby Plain, threw 364 pitches in 22 innings this weekend, which getting that high on a pitch count, that might bring you down a little bit. But the second game, Texas came out and got it done. Washington tried to battle back over in the last inning, I think it was, but they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and like I said, Plain, I thought Washington might pull her earlier in that game, give her a little break, give her a few innings off, because you can come back and pitch in softball. Right. You can come back and in the same position. Yeah. So I thought maybe they give her a couple innings off there after she closed out the third tough against that Texas team. Mm-hmm. And then she just got hit late. I think she was tired. I mean, just too many pitches, and she's not somebody that blows you away with fastballs. She mixes up everything and, throwing around the 60. So she was tired. I mean, you could feel it. And you feel good for Texas. Great comeback. Great win for them. Sets up an awesome series there with Arkansas.
Yeah.
Well, another SEC team that really just looked great was Florida, allowing just 2 runs all weekend. Scoring 28 runs and allowing 2. That's setting yourself up for success. Sydney, what did you see else other than just offense?
Offense, a lot of offense, a lot of runs. Their offense was crazy, and I honestly didn't have too much faith in them because as a Razorback fan, I've watched Arkansas sweep them in 4 games, and they just came off a loss in the SEC tournament. So I wasn't, thinking that they would come out and have that much dominance, but they got it done, and they scored a lot of runs.
Yeah, that was my thought, was super roller coastery team.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they had a good enough RPI where they should be there. Dan, did they figure it out? Did they figure it out this weekend?
I think they did. I think Florida's back. I mean, they're one of those teams that they're not going to hit the ball out. I don't think they have a single player who has 10 home runs this year. But you got girls like Skylar Wallace and Hannah Adams and Kendra Falby, just getting the hits they need. You hit the extra base hits, lighting up that scoreboard, and you don't have to hit the ball out to score runs. And I think that's something they do really well. But going back to a few of the teams we talked about, who needs pitching when you're hitting like that? Pitching's just a bonus.
Yep. And, there's some teams that would have loved some more offense, like Missouri. I was kind of surprised when the bracket came out and they were getting to host over Texas. I thought Texas was going to get that 15 or 16 seed. Seeing Missouri get that one was kind of a surprise. And then having Arizona win that regional kind of didn't surprise many people, but Arizona didn't look sharp. Dan, how did they win that one?
I don't know how they won, but let me just say I'm glad they won. Very glad that they won, setting up a great Super Reach. I mean, their pitching was good, right? Hannah Bowen was completely phenomenal on the mound. Devin Netz, another just stud on the mound. I think Bowen pitched the final game against Missouri. Netz pitched the first game against Missouri. I mean, just absolutely dominated on the mound, and it was so much fun to watch. I have a 2 television setup in here, so on the big TV, obviously I had my dogs on, but they had this one on national TV. It's oh, I gotta put it on, but so I was able to glance at it, and I saw they won. I thought, oh goodness, it might happen, but yeah, they weren't entirely too sharp. But in the end, they went 3-0, and that was they found ways to win. Am I scared? Yes. Am I confident? Yes. But man, it was fun to see that. Another one of those just I saw so many tweets this week. I mean, anyone can win on any given day.
Yeah.
And Arizona proved that. That is the one pick from the regional that I can proudly say I picked. I didn't think they were going to be going to Starkville. I thought they were going to go to Tallahassee and give Florida State a run for their money. But I never proud to be more wrong on some picks.
Yeah. So Sydney, if you're Arizona, how are you feeling today? You're feeling pretty excited to get through there?
You're feeling really good. They haven't had the best season. I think they were last in their division, and their pitchers gave up more home runs than anyone else in the Pac-12. But it seems like their pitching just really came together in that last game against Mizzou, and they're probably on a pretty high horse. So we'll see how they do.
I think you're right. I think having the 2 pitchers kind of gave them enough to where they could get some breaks. They could get in there and they could switch between the 2. I think it makes a big difference. Speaking of UCF, I had nothing but good things to say about them. I picked Michigan to win that series, and UCF just looked like the part of doing what a 16 seed needs to do to be their first super host. What about UCF am I not seeing, Sydney, that makes me think that they're, where they're at 16?
I haven't really watched UCF a whole lot until this regional, and they just came out ready to go. This was their first regional in Orlando, and everything I saw on social media and stuff, they were all pumped. There were so many people there. Their crowd was incredible. And Jada Cody really was the difference for UCF, especially in that first game. She had 2 home runs and was just crazy. So their defense had some really good plays too, but their offense did a great job to get the job done.
Yeah. Dan, tell me how UCF took care of Michigan, who is a perennial powerhouse. They seem to be in it every year. They seem to be good. Seeing as they're playing the 16 as the 2 seed, they're probably the number 17 to 20, somewhere in there. UCF took care of business. Is that a good enough UCF team?
Well, if we're talking about going against the ultimate juggernaut, I don't know. But if there's anything we learned this last weekend, Giants can fall with the right opponent. And I mean, UCF has the capability of forcing 3 games. And if Oklahoma is forced into an elimination game, you could see them go into almost a panic mode, like, oh no, like what are we going to do now? They could cower down, or they could bounce back. But yeah, Michigan. I mean, you and I both picked them to win that regional. And I think as a whole staff, most of us picked Michigan to win. Our good friend Sean had the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State, and I would have loved to see South Dakota State get a chance to play UCF, but yeah, Michigan's also really, really good. And I think their pitching is also like really special, really dominant. 2 of their pitchers have sub-2 ERAs, and they're going to be able to bring it. I mean, obviously, like they have to be their very, very best because they're going up against the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and it was crazy down there in Orlando. I was super pumped to get to see a regional down there. It's really good for the game. Those fans are nuts. I hope that they travel. I hope that they can get some seats there in Oklahoma and get those taken care of. But as we're talking about players now, Sydney, tell me your 2 favorite players from the weekend. Tell me 2 that really spotlight for you.
All right. Well, my first one was Jada Cody. That's why I mentioned her. I got to watch a lot of that game, and seeing her go up to her first at bat, she hit a bomb, then comes up for a second at bat, another bomb. And she's not someone that has like a ton of home runs this season. I think she went in having 11 or 12, and then she came out with those 2 in the first game against Villanova. And she had one of the ESPN top plays, and she had one of the NCAA softball accounts top plays too. She was playing third base and caught a ball over her head. And if she wouldn't have caught that ball, I think it was Michigan would have scored right there. But she was really clutch there and played great defense and an incredible offense.
Yep. And who you got for your second player there?
For my second one, I had to choose a hog. But I couldn't be basic and choose one of the basic Danielle Gibson or Lenny Malkins. I chose Casey Hoffman. She's a freshman. She's a utility player. She played right field mostly this weekend. She came into the weekend with 6 home runs. And on Saturday, she came up right after Lenny Malkin hit a 3-run bomb, comes up and hits a solo home run. And then on Sunday, Lenny Malkin goes up, hits a solo home run. Casey Hoffman comes up, hits a solo home run, which is incredible to do in back-to-back games, back-to-back home runs. You don't see that a lot. And Sunday she also had a single that she ended up scoring off. And then Oregon ended up having to intentionally walk her because she was such a threat. And she had some really good catches in right field too. So she's not someone that you hear a lot about, but she really showed herself this past weekend.
Definitely overshadowed, but it's cool to see friends step up when they can.
Right.
Take care of those opportunities. So it's really good to see. Dan, why don't you give me a couple players that you saw that were a little out there this weekend?
So, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be as to say it if I didn't talk about the phenomenal pitching performances. I'm going to do mine a little weird. So doing like 2 pairs of players, of teammates that just carried their teams all the way through. This first one is Annie Willis and Aspen Wesley. That combo on the mound this weekend was just about untouchable. Annie had gotten hit a little bit early on in the first game against South Florida. And then, we had that elimination game against Howard. And Aspen Wesley, they're both AW initials, so like it gets me crazy every time. Aspen came in, pitched a complete game against Howard, got that job done. Then that night, we had another elimination game against South Florida. Annie Willis came in, pitched a complete game shut piece. And so now we have, the juggernaut of Florida State in game 1 of that. Aspen, complete game shut piece. Absolutely dominated. We threw her back out for game 2, and we actually pulled her after 3 pitches. Florida State had figured her out. It's like, all right, look, she did her job, though. She did her job. She got the first game done. Threw in Kenley Hawk. She got through 2 innings, and that gave way for Annie Willis, who'd pitched a complete game the night before. and I was a little bit worried. I thought maybe we could have pulled her sooner, but we didn't need to. She didn't give up a single run the rest of the time through, and I mean, obviously this is now the greatest team in Mississippi State history, and really being led on the mound by those two right there. My second one, I'm going over to Virginia Tech. Keely Rochard, game one, no hitter. I mean, you got to give props to that huge performance there. And then in her next game she'd pitched, she'd come out of the bullpen, pitched I think 4 perfect innings, untouched. And when Virginia Tech had gone to that final day, Emma Lemley, her teammate, had pitched a complete game right before to give Rochard a shot at finishing it off. But they actually put Emma Lemley out in Game 7. She had pitched, I think, 3 or 4 innings and gave the way for Rochard, and she finished it off. And I mean, that pitching staff, that combo right there is absolutely phenomenal. They did their job, and Rochard is she's the real deal, and I think she's going to be a big reason as to why Virginia Tech has a huge shot at making it to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and like we talked about all shows so far, pitching and defense has done a lot of things this tournament. It's really been incredible. I'm going to go with a couple players here. Janae Jefferson from Texas. She had an outstanding weekend. Defensively was terrific. She scored 7 runs, went 7-14, came in with only 3 home runs on the season, and hits 2 against Washington, both big ones, both game winners. Incredible to see her performance down there or up in Washington. Beautiful with Lake Washington there behind it. Cool ballpark. If you've never been there, you all should go. My second, of course, Oregon State, Mariah Maison. 4 for 14 over the weekend, not great, but she had 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, scored 5 times. She also threw 23 innings, got 2 wins and a save over the weekend, so that's an impressive thing. We love pitchers who rake. That's one of our favorite things, so pitchers who rake are awesome, and she did everything she needed to help that Oregon State team beat a very good Tennessee team. Absolutely. All right, Dan, tell me the team. I think I know. That was most surprising for you this
Actually,
week.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I think I've talked about Mississippi State enough. So, obviously everyone knows I love my dogs. But, I think I've talked about them enough. And I want to talk about a different team that actually surprised me. And I mentioned it earlier when we talked about them in the regionals, but it was Duke. I did not think they were getting out of that regional. I thought they were going to win their first game. And then I thought Liberty was coming out of that. Emily Kirby's a really great pitcher for Liberty. And, when she had thrown the complete game shutout against Georgia, and I was like, oh, it's over for Duke. They're done.
Yep.
And Duke, they came out strong. Peyton St. George I think she pitched complete games in the first 2 games. I can't remember if they played the 4th seed, but when she played Liberty, she pitched complete game. Outdueled Kirby, who's a phenomenal pitcher from Liberty, and they pulled out, and I didn't think they were going to make it. They're one of those teams that you didn't think could do it, and man, Duke looks really good right now.
Yeah, it was funny when I was looking through the bracket. Duke was the team that I singled out. I also took Liberty, knowing that they had a stud on the mound, and she came out and dominated game 1. I was like, all right, well, that's the end of Duke's season. They're going to go and lose that game too. They won it. Very good choice there. Sydney, who impressed you as a team this weekend?
Mark, you'll like me for this one. I had Oregon State. They really shocked me. Like I said earlier, I haven't really seen them a lot, but they really shocked me. Like you said, Mariah Maison, is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was introduced to her, and she really is the ultimate dual threat. I mean, 4 RBIs on Sunday in game 1 against Tennessee, and then she pitched a complete game, which went on to be her 16th win of the season. And then she hit a 2-run bomb in the second game. You don't see that a lot. You see most teams not have their pitcher at bat, and she just does it all.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because Laura Berg asked her to start hitting her junior year. She's like, I know you can hit. Why don't we get you out there, get you a designated play, and get you hitting when you're not pitching? And she really was pushing against it because she wanted to be a great pitcher this year. A little bit more of both, and it really showed that she can really do both at the highest level. Yeah. For me, I actually had Mississippi State, and I crossed it off because I thought Dan was going to talk about them. Awesome for them to win their first time ever, getting to host a super outstanding. I'm going to go with the team that didn't actually win the regional. McNeese, they went up and beat Notre Dame twice. A very good Notre Dame team that a lot of people had winning that regional. And they beat them. They scored 10 runs in the first inning without a home run. They just went out there and small balled them to death. I was taken away thinking McNeese could really do it. And then, when they lost, it was fine. But they beat Notre Dame twice, which is a very good feat. And they showed up and they played hard in that region. I was very happy for them. And they were kind of my team of the weekend. So hats off to McNeese for beating. And, I don't know if anybody here has watched my show that much, but I hate Notre Dame. So I love when people beat Notre Dame. So that also helps their case there.
Yeah, that was insane. I was blown away by that. After that, I thought that they were just going to take the whole regional.
Yeah, I agree. I was just shocked. I was just sat there and go, wow, all right, this is happening. All right, so we're going to go down to it now. Let's get into the supers. We're going to talk about some supers here now. We have all of our picks in here. Jake's going to help us out by going to the first screen there. UCF and Oklahoma. Like we talked about, UCF 49-12 on the season. Oklahoma's 52-2. Oklahoma's too much. Guys, is there anything that Jada Cody could do? Could she be enough to help this UCF team? Sydney, tell me is there anything else to help them?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I thought A&M might have had Oklahoma in their regional whenever it was 3-2, but after Oklahoma came out and just smacked Texas A&M around, A&M pulled their pitcher, or I think the pitcher pulled herself off the mound in the first inning. I mean, doing something like that, that's insane, and I don't think UCF can get the job done in Norman.
Yeah, Dan, does UCF has the pitching to stop this incredible steamroller that is Oklahoma? No.
I mean, Oklahoma is they look unbeatable, just based off that final game against Texas A&M. I mean, you can't forget that game right before, right? I mean, it was a 3-2 win, barely slipped by, but it's Oklahoma we're talking about. I mean, they're well on their way back to Oklahoma City, right in their backyard, and it's going to be in 2 games. I mean, I said, if UCF can force a game 3, there might be a chance, but I don't think there's going to be a game 3.
I know there's no moral victories at this point in the season, guys, but if UCF forces a game 3, that'll be a moral victory for that ball club. Yeah. I hope that the UCF fans show up in numbers and try to give them a little bit of support there. It's tough. It's Oklahoma. Oklahoma should roll this in 2 and get ready for Oklahoma City. Our next matchup is, what do you got, Jake? Northwestern and Arizona State. Northwestern 43-10, the 8 seed. Arizona State 44-9, the 9 seed. Northwestern has Rachel Lewis, 368, 21 home runs and 58 RBIs. Arizona State features Sydney Sanders, 429, 21 home runs, 63 RBIs. Dan, you went with Arizona State. Tell me why.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier, right? In the regionals, we thought, man, they didn't look that good, and I think they're going to learn from it. I really do. I've been high on them coming into the tournament. I thought they could have been higher than the 8 seed, but they have what they got. I think their pitching is going to pick it up. I said they got 3 studs on the mound, and I think they got a chance to do it. I think Lindsay Lopez is going to be the one to really dominate on the mound. She's looked good all year long. I think in the lineup, I mean, Cindy Sanders is going to be good, but this is going in 3 games. It's going to come down to the wire. I think this is potentially to be the most exciting super regional matchup. Not just because it's the 8-9; those are always fun. But I really think this is going to be. I think this is one of those we could see extra innings in Game 3, and I mean it'll be a lot of fun out there.
I believe all 3 of us had this one going 3. Sydney, tell me how you got Northwestern winning this series.
I think Northwestern's offense takes over. We saw what they did last weekend, and honestly, after Arizona State's performance, I just don't think that they'll be able to get it done. I think Northwestern's pitching will shut them down pretty well, and Northwestern's a really good team, so I really see them coming out and taking over, and especially with Grace Nieto and the spot she's in right now, hitting so well, I think they get it done.
Yeah, I've leaned a little bit here towards Arizona State because I think that Northwestern played their best ball already. and I think Arizona State played some of their worst ball. I'm hoping that those can shift, and I think Arizona State comes back here a little bit. I think Northwestern comes down to earth a little bit, but pitching and defense, Northwestern is very good. I'm still taking Arizona State in 3. I think experience beats that, and the toughness of the schedule that Arizona State had this year. Going on to our next one here, we've got the UCLA 5 seed versus Duke. Duke's traveling out there. Duke features Christina Foreman, 415, 15 home runs, 56 RBIs on the offensive side. UCLA, not really anybody that really blows the cover off the ball, but Delaney Wise, 406, 14 home runs, 54 RBIs. Sydney, you got UCLA. We all have UCLA. Tell me a little bit about it.
I think UCLA just dominates Duke. Honestly, they're a lot better team. And especially with the Super being out in LA, they packed that stadium very well, and their fans really come out, and I think they have home field advantage all the way. And I just think they dominate. Their offense is going to dominate Duke. Duke's going to have to play really, really good defense and have really good pitchers in the circle for them to get it done.
Dan, they say speed never slumps. Duke's fast, but they're going out to LA, perennial powerhouse. You got UCLA as well. Why you got the Bruins?
This is going to be a good pitching matchup, I think. Peyton St. George, I was really high on her. I think Duke has, gone with her a bit too much. We saw that this weekend. She had struggled there at the end. Was dominating early on, but she'd struggled at the end of the regional overuse. I think game 1 is going to go to extras, at a 1-1, 0-0 score. UCLA is going to find a way to walk it off and win it. And once Duke doesn't have Peyton St. George, I don't think they find a way out of this super regional, and it's going to be done in 2 games. I'm kind of there with Sydney. Like the first game, I'm going to say it's very close, down to the wire, but second game, I think UCLA bats are going to explode.
Yeah, I think I'd be surprised if Duke does win a game down there. It's just tough to go into LA, like you guys said. Fills up the stands. It's very home friendly. I think that UCLA has enough offense to make it feel too much pressure for Duke. It'll be really interesting, though, to see that pitching matchup versus Duke, or versus UCLA. But I'm going to UCLA in 2. All right. What do we got next? We got Arkansas and Texas. So Texas, Janae Jefferson, as I already highlighted earlier, 425, 5 home runs, 32 RBIs, kind of a lead-up person. But Haley Dolcini is their pitcher, great all year. You guys know everything about Arkansas. They got all the people that are crushing the ball over the place. Gibson and Malkin, they both have over 20 home runs. Dan, tell me why you think it's the Hogs.
I think first things first, the crowd is going to make a huge difference in this game. Cindy, you know more about the capacity of down there in Fayetteville. And, I mean, I've seen the talk on Twitter about just the ticket prices. I thought Starkville prices were pretty bad, and they actually keep going up, unfortunately. Yeah. But, I mean, Arkansas prices are insane, I think. I mean, like I said, if there's any team that's going to knock off Oklahoma before the championship, it's going to be the Razorbacks. And their crowd, their home crowd, is going to be absolutely electric.
Yeah. Sydney, you know lots about this. Tell me something about this Arkansas team. Tell me why you got them beating Texas so easily.
There is not one chance in the world that Texas gets out of Fayetteville surviving this next Super. There's going to be 5,000 people in the parking lot watching. I mean, Arkansas had over 3,000 fans in Bogle just on Friday. They totaled over 9,000 fans just for their games this weekend. And this game is going to be insane. There's so much talk about it. Everyone's already ready to just destroy Texas. Texas is a really good team. They're one of the 2 teams to beat Oklahoma. Their pitching is great, but I think Arkansas offense, I think they just adjust very well. I think our pitchers will really shut them down. And I think Arkansas wins 2-0, but having 3 games will be really fun. But
I think that this is an outstanding series. I think both squads really wanted this matchup. I think that it's really going to be a good time. I think Texas is going to surprise some people. I think they're going to try to steal game 1. I don't think that they have. I don't think Haley can throw all 3 games, so I don't think that they have enough to keep game 2. And then I think game 3 goes to a close ball game again. And I think that a close ball game favors Texas over Arkansas. That Arkansas offense is just filthy, though, so I think that they are good. I am going with Texas, though. Going Longhorns here in this one.
Down.
All right. Where are we going next? Va-Tech in Florida. This is kind of an interesting one. Sydney, you went with the better pick here, the 3 seed. Tell me why you think Va-Tech has enough. Is it pitching? Because, they've got good pitching on the mound. They got Keely Richard. She's dominant. She's really that good. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah. After what we saw last weekend, Virginia Tech's pitching, and it starts with Richard, but it continues the whole way down. They did a fantastic job this last weekend. And Florida's offense is very, very good. Florida has the better offense than Virginia Tech, but we've also seen Florida's offense not be very, very good against good pitching. And I think Richard shuts it down. If it goes to 3 games, I think she pitches 2 of them and just shuts them down.
Dan, how does Florida steal 2 games here from Va-Tech?
This is the one that I thought I was going to be like standing on this hill alone, but Mark, you ruined that. It's okay though. SEC for the win. Obviously I'm very biased with that. But no, Florida's back. I mean, they really picked it up. They had struggled a lot during the season in the SEC, and they really picked it up. They're playing like we normally expect out of Florida softball. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to downplay the impact that Keely Richard's going to have in this game. She could I easily see her coming out in game 1 and pitching a complete game shutout. But also like those bats in Florida, they keep going around the bases. They go station to station. They're not gonna hit the ball out the yard and empty the bases. They keep people on base, and they're gonna do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the pressure of Florida. They don't hit the ball out of the yard. They do spray it around. They do try to play some small ball. I think that their pitching really stepped up this weekend. I think we see a pitcher's duel game 1. I think if they can steal game 1, game 2 could be theirs, and it could be a 2-0 Florida. I do think that Richard is probably the best pitcher that we're going to see over the weekend, and I'm excited for this series. But I got Florida with the offense and how well their pitching has been this week. So that's where I'm going. Oregon State and Stanford. So, Dan, you joined the dark side. How's it feel to be on the side of the Beavers here?
For legal purposes, I might have to change to Stanford for this one. I'd realize what you were doing, Mark. I might go join Sydney for this one. And, I was picking Oregon State because of the momentum. I mean, don't get me wrong, Stanford's also really good. Obviously, they're hosting this, and it's not. But Oregon State doesn't have far to travel. They're still on the West Coast, same time zone and everything. I was riding high on them beating Tennessee. I thought Tennessee was a really, really, really good team. And coming out of Knoxville was no small feat. Like I said, for legal purposes, I might have to change this to Stanford, but for show purposes, I guess it'll stay Oregon State.
Sydney, you got Stanford. I know that they played a really tough Alabama team. They're at home. They get a host here. What do you got, Stanford?
I think they're looking for revenge. They dropped the series against Oregon State back in March. And it was a pretty close – all those games I looked at, they were pretty close games. Possibly like similar teams, but I think the pitching just takes over. With Vaughter and Krause, I think – they'll shut down Oregon State, but it'll definitely be a really good series. I think Stanford's probably on a pretty big high horse right now after beating Alabama, and I think they'll be coming in hot.
Yeah, getting the shutout wins against Alabama was huge. I think that this is going to be a great series. I think this goes 3. I am excited to see Mariah throw in those games and get a hit in those games. I think that it's very interesting. Like you said, Vaughter for Stanford is tough. 37-20 versus 39-20. They're both right there. Oregon State took the season series, but that was back when they were a long time ago, back in March. They're different teams now. So I'm excited for this one. This will be a really good one down there in Stanford, down on the farm. Oklahoma State. All right. What do we got here? Everybody going Oklahoma State. Sydney, tell me why Oklahoma State is a better team over Clemson.
I think their offense will come out and get everything done. I think their pitching will be really good. Clemson obviously has really good pitchers. They showed that this past weekend, but I don't think Clemson's there yet to beat Oklahoma State. And especially in Stillwater, I think they'll have a really good crowd and have the advantage there. But once again, they're one of the two teams to beat Oklahoma. And if they can do that, I think they'll take Clemson on pretty well.
I agree. I think that they're a little better rated. Dan, tell me why Oklahoma State.
It's tough. I mean, originally I said this is going to be in 2 games. Looking back at Clemson's team, I'm going to say 3. I mean, Reagan Spencer is going to come on the mound probably game 1 and dominate on there. But do I think Clemson's going to win it? I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma State is just – they're so good. And they just – there's such a high standard in the Big 12 of the standard of Oklahoma that they've had to compete with. Their biggest rival is just the juggernaut of NCAA softball right now. And, I think they're here to prove something. And they're going to take it in 3. Like I said, we're going to see great performances out of Reagan Spencer and Millie Thompson from Clemson, but Oklahoma State's going to find a way to push through.
Yeah, and Valerie Cagle, they have 3 pitchers that are sub-2 ERAs there for Clemson. Again, very impressed with them. I was happy to see them advance. I think, like you guys said, it's a little too early for them to be taking on this ball club, going down to Oklahoma State and winning that game. I think it's just a little bit too much to ask of them this early. But I really like the effort, and I think that they have the pitching to keep this game close. Oklahoma State, too much offense, 1 through 9.
Save the best for last.
All right. So Arizona 36-20, Mississippi State 37-25. Mia Davidson for Mississippi State 371, 22 home runs, 44 RBIs, and Ali Skaggs for Arizona 374, 23 home runs, 57 RBIs. Are we looking at a slugfest here, Dan? Tell me why you got the Mississippi State.
No, it's not going to be a slugfest actually.
Okay.
So, I mean, this weekend when Mississippi State took down Florida State, it was all in their pitching. And don't get me wrong, their bats did what they had to do. The clutch hitting was absolutely phenomenal. But one thing I noticed there is, everyone was pitching around Mia Davidson for good reason. That she was intentionally walked a few times.
Yeah.
The last time was to load the bases, which paved the way for she scored the go-ahead run in Game 7 against Florida State. But the pitching is going to be phenomenal. I'm excited for Annie Willis against Hannah Bowen in Game 1. I'm assuming Hannah Bowen is going to be on the mound for Arizona. But, who I'm picking. Dogs in 3. We're going to win this thing, and we're going to punch our ticket to Oklahoma City. Our first ever hosting in the postseason. News Park is going to be absolutely packed. Every seat's going to be full. The outfield is going to be insane. I'm so excited for it. So excited.
Agreed. All right. Sydney, was this hard to pick Mississippi State to win this series?
Not really, honestly. I think Starkville is going to be the difference. I mean, from what I've seen already, the fans are going to be crazy there. Very similar to Fayetteville. Both of Mississippi State and Arkansas's baseball teams aren't like the peak right now, and the fans want something to cheer for and go to. And so I think there's going to be a whole bunch of fans out there, and it'll be a wild environment. And if they can beat Florida State, they can beat anyone. Arizona wasn't extremely impressive last weekend. Their pitching kind of fully came together for one of the first times this season. So it will be a big pitching battle, but Mia Davidson, she'll be the difference there. She leads the SEC in career home runs. She has 91 in her career so far. Batting isn't really – there's not really a super strong batter besides her for Mississippi State, but I think they'll all step up. And with pitching and her doing well, I think Mississippi State takes it in 3 probably.
I like
Great pick, Sydney. Great pick.
I like it. I went Arizona here. I think that the pitching for both these ball clubs is strained a little bit. They both performed better than they should have this weekend. They both beat teams that they probably shouldn't have. I think the offense have come out. I think we see a little bit. I think this is the most exciting regional we have, though. I think it's going to be the most fun. I think that Starkville's going to go crazy. I'm really excited to see what they do and how they host and how they are in that ballpark. I hope that it's anything like we're all hoping it's going to be. I believe very much it will be. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of Wildcat fans down there, but I'm excited for this one. Even though I'm taking Arizona, I'd be just as happy if Mississippi State won this and went to the World Series. So I'll leave it on that note there. Jake, joining us in here. He's been looking to make you guys some money, so we're looking on the bet side. Where did we find some bets today, Jake?
So these are courtesy of Bovada.
All right.
Those are going to be a little small, so I'll tweet it out, but I'll go ahead and pull up the picture on my phone.
Okay.
We got a little bit of a variety today. We have the over in the Texas-Arkansas game. Both Texas and Arkansas are both in the top 25 runs per game. Looked like a shootout. Very, very good odds there. If both teams average, their season averages, they'll win. Like the under against UCLA and Duke, I don't anticipate Duke traveling very well. I think that kind of layover West Coast is going to come back to bite them. Really don't like Duke in that matchup at all. And then the last two were in the OU series. I have Central Florida to cover 5.5 runs. I think that's a really, really high mark for Oklahoma. I know that they've run-ruled a lot of teams in this tournament, but I really don't anticipate the opening game being the blowout. Maybe down the road or 2 and 3 when their pitching kind of gets strained or they see the same pitcher again. And then lastly, I have the under against that game too as well. OU has a ton of bullpen arms and lead the country in ERA. I really don't anticipate, UCF kind of blowing back and, banging around the yard a little bit at OU.
I believe OU has run ruled in 60% of their games this entire season, which is incredible. But yeah, I like it, coming out against a good UCF program. It'll be really interesting to see what they do here. I very much agree with your UCLA take. I think all three of us here on the board, we all said the same thing. There's going to be a tight game there with Duke and UCLA, low scoring. So I don't know if we all agree on that last one, but I love the UCLA one there, bud.
I really liked UCF to kind of come out and fight a little bit. I think I saw, too, that OU spent an entire tournament where they run-ruled every single team. So they really are a dominant team. But, the first game is really kind of a rare blowout. Most teams are kind of feeling each other out. UCF's going to come out swinging because they have to because they're the 16 seed. So look for them to cover. And then game 2, I would bet the house on OU to blow them out. That's going to be my prediction.
I love it. Do we have any questions today?
We did not have any questions. Let me double check this.
No, you have to probably send through the Twitters and everything. So we'll get this show sent out. Last thoughts here, guys. Dan, what do you got for me?
This last weekend was one of the most exciting softball weekends ever, I think. I hated that I couldn't watch all day Friday. Having a job sucks, and having to work is awful.
Wouldn't know.
But it's going to be so much fun. I already cleared off the whole schedule on Friday. We're cooking breakfast out there in the outfield and cooking lunch, and shoot, if they don't kick us out, we'll cook dinner too. And just all the games this week are going to be so much fun. We're in for a really exciting weekend. I think any team can win, and I'm going to even say UCF, they can win. I was kind of like laughing them off, but they're not a team to laugh off. Obviously, they're gonna create a bit of chaos in game 1, but I agree with Jake. They're gonna beat the brakes off of Oklahoma's gonna beat the brakes off UCF in game 2. But yeah, it's gonna be so much fun to watch, and I am so excited. This could be the best super regional weekend ever. And I'm just so glad that I get to represent a school that is playing in it.
Jake, what do you got for us? What are your final thoughts here on the weekend?
I'm picking up another bandwagon team here, Mark. I'm famous for doing that.
Yes.
Go Pokes. Oklahoma State's going to be my team of the weekend. They're going to be the one that I'm squinting hard pretending they're A&M. Go Pokes.
I love it. Sydney, tell me some greatness for this weekend.
Last weekend had the most upsets out of any regional weekend ever. And so with that being done, I think that puts this weekend up for maybe the same thing. There might be a lot of big upsets happening. There are a lot of teams that necessarily shouldn't be there that are there. And I think those teams are going to come in hot. They're on that high of winning. And I think it'll be such a fun weekend. There are so many fun games. And going across Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the talent pool has really leveled out, and now the competition level is so high. There's anybody that can win any given weekend. You come in hot, you're ready to go. I think we have 8 great super regionals for you. We're going to be watching all weekend. Hopefully, we're back on Tuesday to talk to you guys about it for the World Series. Yep. Another great show, guys. I'm excited for it. Go Bulldogs, go Hogs. Well, go Pokes now, Jake.
Yeah, go Pokes.
And go Beavers. Thanks for joining
us.
Guys.
I'll forgive you, Mark, whenever the Bulldogs win in 2. I'll forgive you for your pick.
Fair enough. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Jake. Good show.